Set to announce the details tomorrow.
We have just concluded a lengthy cabinet meeting, which was an emergency session that discussed the cocoa sector and matters arising there.
We'll hear from government spokesperson shortly. Also, Electoral Commission and political parties agree on modalities for Ayawaso by-election. We have details from an inter-party advisory committee IPAC meeting. Meanwhile, political parties to ballot for positions on Thursday ahead of March 3 by-election at Ayawaso East. Details of these and more in the next hour. If you stay with us, my name is Grace Hamwajiman. Before we get into that, though, my colleague Nura Mohammed has the latest. Nura, what do you have?
First in the summaries, breaking news as at this moment, a Ghanaian food brand manager has been arrested for allegedly hiding cocaine in food products for trafficking, according to Chumberima, the Deputy Director of the Narcotics Control Commission. Meanwhile, the Koforidua District Court B has adjourned the case involving 2 students arrested for alleged gang rape. The 2 underage suspects have been remanded into the custody of their parents and are expected to reappear in court on February 18. The students were arrested by police for allegedly gang raping a female student during an inter-school sports event in Koforidua. They have been charged with conspiracy to commit a crime, to wit, rape. Also, the Ghana Police Service has recovered a stolen Toyota Hilux pickup and other exhibits following an intelligence-led operation into a residential robbery incident. According to a press release issued by the Criminal Investigation Department, the CID, on February 11, 2026, the robbery occurred on December 4, 2025, when armed men attacked a female complainant in her room and made away with her Toyota Hilux, an iPhone 16 Pro Max, and other personal belongings. Meanwhile, the Minority Caucus in Parliament has criticized what it describes as the excessive conduct of the National Investigations Bureau NIB in the arrest of former CEO of the National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Program NEIP, Kofi Owusu Nkansa. They argued that the development represents a diversion from the pressing economic challenges confronting Ghanaians. In a statement dated February 11, 2026 and signed by the Minority Chief Whip, Frank Ano Dompre, the caucus said the incident reflects misplaced priorities at a time of national difficulty. And finally, Asante Achim North Member of Parliament Ohene Kwame Frimpong has initiated a private member's bill to amend the Political Parties Act 2000 Act 574 to introduce campaign financing regime in Ghana's politics. The Political Parties Act 2000 Act 574 regulates the registration and functioning of political parties, but remains silent on campaign financing. According to the lawmaker, the rising cost of politics poses a serious threat to the country's democracy. The reason Ghana needs to introduce a campaign financing regime to avert the situation. That will be all for the summaries. Over to you, Grace.
Right, thank you very much, my colleague Nura Mohammed, with the news summaries there. Let's begin the bulletin from the cocoa sector, because Cabinet has approved what government describes a far-reaching measures to address the current challenges confronting the country's cocoa sector. The sector is grappling with a severe funding crisis following the inability of the Ghana Cocoa Board to promptly pay farmers and licensed buying companies for cocoa supplied. Government has come under intense pressure to mobilize funds to settle arrears owed to farmers and sustain Cocoa Board's operations. In response to the situation, President Mahama convened an emergency cabinet meeting earlier today. Minister in charge of government communications, Phyllis Kwachofosu, addressed the media after the meeting. We can listen to him now.
And at the end, we have just concluded a lengthy cabinet meeting, which was an emergency session that discussed the cocoa sector and matters arising there. And at the end of the emergency session, decisive measures have been agreed upon regarding expedited payments of cocoa farmers, regarding the implementation of the most drastic reforms in the cocoa sector, with a view to achieving quantum leaps in domestic processing of cocoa as opposed to exports of raw materials, and various reforms to be carried out at Cocoa Board in order to ensure more effective administration and management of the cocoa sector. Now, at 11 a.m. tomorrow, the finance minister will address the people of Ghana and announce these far-reaching measures as agreed upon at the end of the cabinet meeting today. So that is what I have for you right now. If you have any questions, I can take it. But tomorrow, 11 a.m., meet the finance minister here for a comprehensive briefing on all the measures that have been agreed upon at today's meeting. Thank you very much.
Will that address the solving the challenge the farmers have had? Will they be paid after that address?
If the meeting was not intended to find solutions to the problems we're having now, the meeting will not have been held. And I indicated that measures have been agreed upon for expedited payment of farmers and to address all the matters that have arisen in the cocoa sector. That's fine.
Government spokesperson Felix Ofosu-Kwakye talking to us about the outcome of that cabinet meeting and the fact that Finance Minister Dr. Cassiel at Forson will address the country tomorrow on what government has agreed upon. Let me tell you why Cocoa Board finds itself in its current financial state. We already know that there was an old module that Cocoa Board was using before a new one was introduced. Now, in the old module, the funding source for the cocoa sector was loans from international banks, what we call the syndicated loan, which went to as much as $1.3 billion. Government now introduces a new module and says that instead of the syndicated loan, 60% upfront payment is now going to come from global cocoa buyers, and as much as $500 million was received, which is also lower than $1.3 billion that we could have received from the syndicated loan. In that same old model, cash flow to farmers took the process that Cocoa Board disburses the funds to LBC directly because it already had the money from syndicated loans. In this new module, Cocoa Board depends on buyer cash because of the upfront payment to fund the LBCs. Now, the cost to Ghana in these two modules was that in the old module, using the syndicated loan, it came with high interest, $150 million annually, and amounting also to Ghana's rising debt. This one, the new module, did not come at any interest, but the risk was that if buyers pull out, there was going to be some financing challenges. And so the outcome in the two modules was that with the old one, payments were stable but costly, and in the new one, payment delayed, buyers were hesitant, and the system is stressed. That is why farmers now have sold their beans, but because buyers are not able to make the 60% upfront payment, farmers are stressed and there's no money coming to them. That is what has happened, and that is why Cocoa Board finds itself in this current financial state. Let's bring in Stevenson Anane-Boateng. He's the president of the Ghana National Cocoa Farmers Association. Mr. Boateng, thank you for making time to talk to us this evening. Your members have one major demand, which is simply that pay us our money. The president heard you and conveyed a meeting. Now we are told details of that meeting will be agreed and put out tomorrow. Does this in a way partly address your concerns? Do you see some light at the end of the tunnel?
Okay. Actually, I haven't actually heard what has actually gone on, what they had discussed. But then, to our understanding, we know the government has its own way of running the sector. And we cocoa farmers have also a way of, doing our business. But at the end of the day, if it is the way they are going to do it, we farmers have nothing to do, because at the end of the day, they are managing the total affairs of the cocoa issue. But then we are there to produce cocoa. So they should let us come together, find a way, solution to it, because government borrowing money and then taking money from other areas or, adding value to whatever they are doing. It is we cocoa farmers are going to bring the product. So they should always find a way of sitting us down, negotiating with us, find a way we can also be comfortable on the work that we are doing. so that it wouldn't bring anything up or, any bad conversation between us, the misunderstanding between us. We should always find a way of sitting us down and then negotiate with us how we should go about it, because it's a team. We are all trying to score a goal. So at the end of the day, who is the winner? We cocoa farmers will play our part. Then the government should also see to it that he plays his part well.
So if I get you right, then it means that you had wanted to be a part. You rather wish that this cabinet meeting the president called, you should have been a part of it, as in cocoa stakeholders and not just cabinet?
Oh no, we fine. It never happened. It never happened because cocoa farmers never take part in such a. But if it is stakeholders meeting, and if it is to be the best way, then of course they should also include us, because we can also come out with an ideas that can also help us, because we are the first. But this never happened. That is not our bordering. That is why anytime you call us and ask us anything, we don't come out with anything, a point that they should involve us, because it has been a long time when they never include farmers in their decision making. Even to take, consider our concerns. That is. So if they have done something about it, they have taken a decision on it, we don't mind. But they should see to it that any decision they take, we farmers should also be considered. Our priorities must also be considered in their decision making. Because at the end of the day, we are doing the work and they are also buying it and making profit for themselves and the country. We cannot just do it and use people just anyhow. So, my dear sister, we are there. We are also preparing to have our way out. If government comes out, we are listening to him. I think tomorrow he will come out with
the finance minister will be addressing the country tomorrow. What would you be expecting him to say?
Come again.
The finance minister will be addressing cocoa farmers as well as the country tomorrow. What would you be expecting him to say to bring hope to the cocoa sector? And for you farmers to get your money.
They should come out with the fact that they are going to pay farmers. We don't want a situation where government is going to say he's going to reduce the cost of cocoa price. He should make sure, because it's a contract, it's a deal. We've already established it. And the deal is that if the cocoa increase, they should have by this time taken advantage on it. So once the agreement is there, he should finish us with that, so that if there is anything, then they call us on board and have that negotiation with us, period. So we expect him to come out to tell us that the money is readily available for us to be paid.
Right. Mr. Nane, thank you for talking to us. We'll definitely connect with you tomorrow when the finance minister tells us what government has agreed and what your view is, especially on making sure that you receive your money. Thank you for talking to us.
Thank you very much.
Stephen Anane-Boateng is the convener of the concerned Ghana National Cocoa Farmers Association. Let's just stay on this and bring in the Executive Director, Policy and Advocacy, Legal and Entrepreneurship Support Hub, Let's have Edward Kariwe, Lawyer Edward Kariwe. Esquire, thank you for talking to us tonight.
Thank you, and good evening to you and to those who are listening to us.
Good evening, sir. So we've heard from government spokesperson Felix Ofosu-Kwakye, and he tells us that government says it is first off going to concentrate more on placing a lot more emphasis on value addition instead of export of raw beans. How does this solve the situation we find ourselves in, maybe now or going forward?
Well, once again, thank you for the opportunity. I think the question about adding value has been with us for many years. And government after government never paid serious attention to it. There was a time when we were told that up to 50% of cocoa produced was supposed to be processed, and that was to be done gradually. Here we are today, we are still selling much of our cocoa beans in the raw state. Now we are faced with this crisis. The market is not there. We have got the beans, and we don't know what to do with the beans. So the call by the minister and government that they want to increase the processing of cocoa beans in the country is what we all expect. And for the long term, that is the solution. But as to whether that will be adequate to address the current crisis, I don't think it is adequate enough, because what is the challenge now is that there's no money to pay farmers for what they have produced. So, and which does not have anything to do with the long-term plan of processing the cocoa beans. Because immediately, government will not be able to process all these cocoa beans, and that is not even the issue. The issue is the money to pay the farmers now. So that is the crisis. And I've listened to the farmers' representatives speaking. I think it appears to me that the farmers appear not to have some trust for government, and they think that whatever be the case, they want nothing less than their money. Yes, I agree, it is a contract, but today the contract is saying that government will have to cough money at all costs to pay them. But if tomorrow the contract also, based on circumstances, it brings some burden on the cocoa farmer, do they expect government to also exact the same, approach as they are doing? I think that is not it. So, but I think that what government can do immediately is to look for money. If they cannot pay everything to the farmers, they should pay part of it and then pay the rest later on, and then work into the future to make sure that we don't get ourselves into this type of crisis again.
Mr. Kariwe, so the current system that Cocoa Board is running now, the fact that they are doing the marketing and forward sales system, do you believe it remains sustainable, or it is time we look for a comprehensive policy overhaul?
We are all aware that the forward sale system has not been very good for Cocoa Board and for the country. There have been instances in the past where, because of the forward sale system, when the syndicated loan was supposed to come, it won't come on time. Even when the season for buying the cocoa beans was due, there was still no money to buy the beans. And that led some of the cocoa farmers to smuggle the cocoa. So it is not, that system has not been very good to us. We can still maintain it, however. But when we maintain it, then the money should come from Bank of Ghana. Right. Because, you see, the banks are making money by giving the loan to Cocoa Board so that they will now have the
decisive measures have been agreed upon.
The syndicated loan
regarding expedited payments of cocoa.
Can't we have Bank of Ghana benefiting from that type of benefit rather than allowing foreign banks to benefit from it? But whatever be the case, the forward sale has come to a point where even Cocoa Board books and credibility was not good enough to have forward sales again. For instance, how were you going to convince buyers to give you a loan for you to supply the beans in future when you had failed to pay or to provide over 300,000 metric tons of beans earlier on? So once you defaulted in that, then your credibility before those who would have given you the money to buy the beans will not come again.
Right.
So it is not just like a situation where Cocoa Board has just got they had the choice at that time to continue with the forward sale, but that they had reached a point where that window was almost closed for them. Now the new system, like to buy as and when, I think that is a good one, but that also has a challenge in the sense that Cocoa Board must always have the money available so that they can buy from the farmers and then store it. And at the same time, that will tie into what the government is trying to do now, that is to process more of the beans. So when you buy the beans and you don't even have a foreign market for it, then you can process it here. But in all that, government must provide the money to be able to buy from the cocoa farmers and then now decide what they want to do with it, either to sell it outside in the raw form or to process it here.
So let's be on that tangent of Cocoa Boards, their credibility, their books, and how we can ensure fiscal discipline. What measures would you recommend to ensure timely payment to farmers while maintaining fiscal discipline within the cocoa sector? Emergency measures, long-term measures, short-term measures, so that we don't come back to this same conversation 2 or 3 years later.
I think we are on the path to restructuring Cocoa Board. I learned Cocoa Board has been taken off from sponsoring cocoa rules and so on and the rest, because the mandate of the organization is not to construct rules. There is state agencies that are there to construct rules. So that should be taken out. In the past, what has happened, that Cocoa Board had entered into so many areas that their mandate did not cover. And aside that, they didn't even have the capacity to do those things. So it led to so much waste in their expenditures. So if they take off all those that are not within the mandate of Cocoa Board and allow Cocoa Board to concentrate on only the production of cocoa, I believe it will also lead to efficiency, increased productivity of cocoa. We can now have more cocoa beans and also, reduce waste in the areas that they do not have capacity to deal with. So part of the restructuring for now and the future is to ensure that Cocoa Board does not take too much into their hands.
Right.
And then they will not be able to deliver it efficiently.
Okay. Mr. Kariwe, thank you for talking to us. We have been speaking with Edward Kariwe. He is Executive Director, Policy and Advocacy, Legal and Entrepreneurship Support Hub. Let's have my colleague, Wisdom Safo, is in the studio. You know, anytime he comes here, we're talking about figures, data, statistics, and all of that. Wise, you're telling us about the cocoa sector. What do the numbers say?
Grace, if you want to understand the challenge in the cocoa sector currently, you have to understand how it was being funded in the past. So in the past, we have been relying on the syndicated loan. Okay, so this syndicated loan is from international banks, sometimes 1.5 billion, sometimes 1.3 billion dollars. And this loan will be distributed by Cocoa Board to the LBCs, the licensed buying companies, so that they can buy the cocoa from the farmers and pay the money upfront. So after buying from the farmers, they supply these beans to Cocoa Board, and Cocoa Board gives these monies to the international buyers. But since 2024-2025 crop season, we changed the funding model. Under this new model, there was a 60% upfront payment from global cocoa buyers. So we were expecting a 60% upfront payment from these international buyers and say, look, give us 60% of whatever you'll be paying us. Let us use that money to go and buy the cocoa from the farmers. Then we can supply it to you. Then after that, you give us the remaining 40%. But here's the catch. Cocoa prices on the international market are declining. In May 2025, it was somewhere around 10,000 tons, US dollars per ton. But by March 2026, around $4,200. But we are still pricing it in the old price around 8,000 within the 10,000, 8,000 range.
Which makes it expensive.
It's very
for our
expensive,
buyers.
you see. So they are looking at external or other alternatives
Cheaper
for
sources.
exactly for our cocoa. So they are not giving us the 60% upfront again. So that's where the lack of liquidity comes in. And you know what? Yesterday I was going through some statistical bulletin by the Bank of Ghana, and I realized that the amount of loans that the local banks, at first local banks used to supply, give these license buying companies some funds to buy the cocoa from the farmers. But I went to the statistical bulletin, I realized that from 2025 up to 2026, there was zero loans from these local banks to the license buying company, because you are not credit worthy. We give you the money, you can't pay because you are waiting for Cocoa Board to reimburse you, and the money too is not coming. So that's where the funding challenge comes in. And I might put on record that this new proposal by cabinet that they have to try to do in-country
value addition and processing,
it's forthcoming, because I spoke to one of these local industries, those who are into cocoa processing, and they are saying that they are not getting Ghana's own cocoa to even process. They have to rely on imported cocoa beans. Look, Ghana produces one of the premium cocoas in the world, and our local manufacturers are not getting our own cocoa to process because you have sold all these cocoa beans in advance.
International buyers,
so it's a challenge. So it's something that we have to look at. I mean, this value addition proposition by cabinet is something that we have to welcome, and I'm waiting to I'm looking forward to
what he has to tell us tomorrow. Everybody is waiting to hear from him, because
Definitely.
Ghana's cocoa sector is one of the backbones of the country, and we cannot afford to look at it
and finally let me add
challenges.
this. You realize that the share of cocoa of our total exports has declined drastically from 2023 January to currently. So around 2023 January, we are trading something 26.6% of all our export revenue was coming from cocoa. But now we are around 12.4%. That's about 14 percentage points decline. So it means right now, if it's not because of gold that is holding the economy, we will be found wanting.
Fortunately for us, gold prices is appreciating on the global market.
Yes, we are celebrating some windfalls, but it won't last. We should find other alternatives to diversify our export.
Exactly.
So
why? So I'll still have you wait, because we'll be talking about food insecurity and the numbers very soon. But let's go to Ayawaso East and talk about what is happening there. We know the Electoral Commission is expected to pilot a new electronic system for collating election results from polling stations in the March 3 Ayawaso East by-election. Timelines will be announced soon to evaluate the 2024 general elections, as it seeks to introduce new modalities to safeguard the integrity of multi-party democracy in Ghana. Part of the new measures is to take election results electronically to address instances when ballot papers and collation sheets are defaced or go missing. At an inter-party advisory committee meeting held Wednesday, the EC also agreed to allow parties present 2 agents for each polling station in the upcoming exercise. Here's NPP Director of Elections Evans Nemaku, who says the new patriotic party will support the EC to lay a new constitutional instrument to that effect.
Today's meeting by Electoral Commission sought to discuss Ayawaso East by-election and other related issues. I mean, we all know that it's happening on March 3, 2026, and the new patriotic party is ready. We filed our candidates, Baba Ali, received this morning. Tomorrow, we are going to the regional office to participate in the ballot. But for IPAC meeting today, other discussions have to do with EC to conduct a review of the 2024 presidential and parliamentary election. That has not been done, and so discussion with the EC has admitted that it's an important exercise that needs to be done. EC also intend introducing what we call results taken electronically at voting centers, and so they are going to pilot this exercise at the Ayawaso East by-election. And the New Patriotic Party is in full support. A situation where results get destroyed by hoodlums will be a thing of the past. And so we will support the EC to file a new CI to give a legal backing to an arrangement where results will be collected electronically to collaborate with the manual transmission of election results. I think by and large, there's understanding among parties that is the nice way to go. And
Director of Elections and Research for the NPP, Evans Nimakoda. Meanwhile, with the Ayawaso constituency parliamentary by-election slated for March 3, NDC's Deputy Director for Elections, Rashid Tanko Computer, said the NDC will hand the NPP a heavy blow.
We've agreed that we are going to deploy 2 party agents at a time for each of the polling stations. Ideally, it's supposed to be 1-1. Because it's a parliamentary election, but because it's just a restricted parliamentary election, they've given us that opportunity that we'll deploy 2 party agents for each of the polling stations. We are ready. We have filed our candidate today. As we speak now, we have officially filed. We are going to win. Our aim is to increase the margin. I mean, that is why we are going in. It's not about winning. It's about increasing the margin. We got the last time we were 22,000 plus. We are expecting to go further, at least to about 25,000 more, because of the good works of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama and what the party is doing for the good people of Ayawaso and all that. So we are expecting a very massive win. We're thinking our opponents will just chicken out. I mean, naturally, because it's not a place for them to come and waste anybody's time. But since they are coming, let them come. We'll give them the heaviest defeats in their life as a political party, NPP. So we are ready.
You have been listening to Dr. Tanko Rashid Tanko. He is the Deputy Director of Elections for the National Democratic Congress, NDC. Whilst we are moving straight to that food insecurity story, but the trend in Ayawaso elections, what do we know briefly?
So, Beatrice, Grace, for the past 25 years, since 1992, since the inception of Ayawaso East constituency, you realize that the NDC has retained the seat. And there's one interesting feature about that constituency. You realize that all the MPs have all been Muslim. And this is not rocket science, because if you look at the communities around Ayawaso East, is Muslim or Islam-dominated communities. And in fact, that's where the National Mosque is located. But the closest margin we ever got to NPP taking over was in 2000, where Kofi Wayo challenged Farouk Brahima. But since 1992, the Ayawaso East has been predominantly NDC, and it's a safe seat for the NDC.
Well, we'll see how it pans out on March 3. The NPP says they are taking the seat. We'll see how it pans out. Let's go and talk about food insecurity. Okay. According to the Ghana Statistical Service, in the third quarter of 2025, food insecurity affected 38.1% of the population. That translates to about 12.5 million people living with uncertain access to food. In the Upper East region alone, nearly 7 out of every 10 people are affected. But this report goes beyond national figures. It tells a story of what is happening inside households across the country. In the past 3 months, 52.7% of households said they were worried about not having enough food. Female-headed households remain the most exposed, and 3.1% of households reported going an entire day without eating, not out of choice, not for religious reasons, but because there was simply no money or resources. The findings also reveal a powerful pattern. The higher the level of education of the household head, the lower the likelihood of food insecurity. Education is not just a pathway to opportunity, it is increasingly become a shield against hunger. Wisdom is still in the studio. Let's break it down.
All right.
What are the headline figures in this?
So the headline figure now is 12.5 million. And that's the number of Ghanaians that are food insecure. But this is a 22% reduction if you compare it to that of 2022. Yes, today is not something we should celebrate. If you have 12.5 million of your citizens food insecure, it's something you have to find very alarming. And this 12.5 million people translate to 38.1% of the population, you realize that if you take 10 people, out of 10 people, 4 people are food insecure. So this is something that's very serious. And if you look at the trajectory or the trend, you realize that it rose 5 consecutive quarters. So food insecurity rose for 5 consecutive quarters before easing in the late 2025. You realize that from 2024 quarter 1, it was around 35.3%. It rose to 37.5% in quarter 2. And by quarter 1 of 2025, it hit 40.3%. And quarter 2 was the highest ever recorded within the past 2 years. But you realize that it has declined a bit by some 3 percentage points to somewhere 38.1%. That's the trend,
the trajectory.
Yes, the trajectory when we talk. But if you want to talk about the regions that are mostly affected by food insecurity, I heard you reading Upper East region. Yes, the Northern Belt, you realize that Upper East is leading with some 69.1%. The Northeast 62.0%, and the Upper West region 55.9%. The Volta region comes where 50.1%, and the Hafu region 49.6%. And I want to place emphasis on this. You know, the Northern Belt, you realize that they are agro-based economy or agro-based population. Most of them are into farming, and they are highly impacted by climate change
and weather patterns.
Exactly. When there is a dry spell, it will reflect in the food that you're going to eat and the amount of money you're going to get from your crops. When there is a flood, remember this dam,
the spillage of the Barry Dam, it always affects them.
So they are vulnerable when it comes to food insecurity. So that's the regional breakdown for the top 5. But this is where it gets interesting. Realize that people are worried about food. Sometimes it's not about you even getting the food to eat. The worry alone, you don't know where the next meal is going to come from. Yeah. So you realize that about 52.7% of Ghanaians are worried about food. About 46.8% of them say that they eat only a few kinds of food because they can't afford some of them. Maybe you want to eat pizza, you can't eat pizza, you have to eat what's governenent. So you have to take that one into account. About 35.2% of them skipped a meal, 22.5% ran out of food, 15.7% hungry but did not eat. And this is the most alarming part. 3.1% of households went a whole day without food.
How is this even
you
possible?
You go a whole day
without food.
This one is not one.
It's not 101 or 110. This is 000.
This is alarming.
Very alarming. So, are there recommendations? How do we move from this place going forward?
So it's about policy targeting the vulnerable people. Yesterday the Agri Minister said on the floor of Parliament that if Jinapo actually raised the question about these figures, and the Agri Minister said, if you know them, if you know these people, identify them, and we have food enough to supply them. So it's not about just these headline figures. It's about identifying the people that are facing the challenge, targeting, formulating policies that will target these people and solve this canker.
Exactly, because we can't go and handpick them and say household A, no food, household B, no food. So
you have to know them. You have to know them and formulate policies to target these people. And lastly, I want to put this one across that. You realize that female-headed households face higher barriers to food access. Well, Valentine is coming, so take care of your husband because you can't discard their importance in supplying food for. But these female-headed households, you realize that if you look at the agri sector as a whole, females form majority of the labor force.
Yeah.
So anything that affects the climate change, that agri sector, dry spell has a direct impact on women, and they are the most vulnerable. So it's not surprising. It's not surprising, I thought. But there's this one interesting statistic we have to do with the triple burden. The triple burden is an intersection of those who are food insecure, they are multidimensionally poor, and they are also unemployed. So we are facing three challenges. You are food insecure. You are also multidimensionally poor, and also you are unemployed.
Because if you're unemployed, you definitely be food insecure.
Exactly. You have a cross effect.
And you're going to be poor.
Exactly.
So it's just like a trickle-down effect of you being unemployed.
Very well. Very well. And this number stands around 227,519.
So, let me have you. We are displaying the statistics or the data on our Facebook stream. So if you're listening to us and you want a better appreciation of it, please quickly head over to our Facebook stream in 3FM 927. You can have all the data there. Wise, take us through the regional breakdown again, and let's know which region suffers the most, which region is also doing well.
Okay, so the region that is facing the most food insecurity is the Upper East region. 69.1%. And that is where Boko is, the Upper East region. Boko. I don't want to draw a map
into all of that. We'll do that correlation.
Yes, so 69.1% for Upper East, 62.0% for Northeast, 55.9% for Upper West, 50.1%. And these percentages are the households in that particular region. The percentage of those households that are food insecure. And Ahafu region, 49%. So these are the top 5.
So this is like almost half of the region's population.
Are facing food insecurity. Right. And there's one last statistics. I mean, it's very natural to have rural communities facing more food insecurity. So if you realize that 44.4% of the rural population,
and that is the irony. This is where we get the food from.
You see,
but they don't get to eat it.
They want to sell it. They want to sell it so that they will get the money to buy other stuff, to buy other things. They don't want to, eat the best out of the produce. They would rather send it to Accra, take the best yam, send it to Accra, so that, Grace, you have a nice potom.
Definitely.
Right. And the urban centers are around 32.5%. And the last statistics have to do with education.
Okay.
Then now education is fast becoming the shield against food insecurity. You realize that there is a high correlation between your educational level of the head of the household and how insecure you are in terms of getting access to food. So you realize that people with no education at all have a 50% chance of being food insecure. And basic education, if you have basic education, it reduces from 50% to 42.6%. Now, if you have secondary education, it reduces from 42.6% for the basic education to 33.7%. And yes, where it gets interesting, for tertiary education, people who have gone to university, have gone education, have gone to university, maybe vocational training,
masters or all of that,
PhD, realize that 13.9% chance. It reduces drastically. Right. So, well, education is the key. The padlock is not changed yet. So, Grace, that is it in terms of the
these figures are not anything to write home about, because they are startling, especially in the regions where it is almost half of the region's population that is food insecure. I know, because it has also appeared in Parliament, government is going to take some action on it for the country to have some food to eat. It is very alarming. Wisdom Safo, anytime he comes here, we are talking data, figures, statistics, and all of that. Wise, thank you for passing through.
Okay, sure.
This is Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. We have spoken about food insecurity. Let's talk about national security, because the Minister for Interior, Mohammed Mubarak Muntaka, has disclosed that a number of police officers stationed in the Boko enclave are threatened to resign if their requests for transfers are not granted. He says several officers, including those manning checkpoints in the area, have been shot and killed over the past 3 months due to the disturbances in the area. First, let's listen to the Interior Minister, who appealed to members of Parliament from affected communities to help create a conducive environment for security personnel to effectively carry out their mandate.
Between 25th of December and today, the number of officers that have been shot and killed in that area is alarming. Just the day before yesterday, an officer was shot and killed. And it makes it very difficult when you want to send officers there. People even go and beg that they have to be transferred. I have instances where you sit in the office and officers resign that if you don't transfer me out of that area, then I'd rather resign and leave the service. Why? Because the citizens there themselves are not helpful. To the extent that, Mr. Speaker, police officers that we put on the barrier, like checkpoints, people have courage to go openly and fire at them and kill them. Yes, in that area, to the extent that at the point that the IGP had to withdraw all police officers from checkpoints, and I had to insist that no, the answer is not to withdraw. We should rather be able to place them with armored vehicles. So when you create a situation where officers do not feel safe, and as MPs, we need to work with these security people so that we'll be able to create an enabling environment within that area so that the security people will be able to assist and help us.
Interior Minister Muntaka Mubarak there. Well, meanwhile, security expert Emmanuel Cotin says the Inspector General of Police should have put some operational measures in place to protect the security officers. He also has been speaking to us. Let's listen to him now.
It's a very troubling development. And from the operational point of view, what is happening is that the Interior Minister, and by extension through the Inspector General of Police, have put some operational measures in place to reduce the fatigue among our men and women in the conflict zones. If you look at the Boku in particular, the conflict has raged for a very long time. And the situation where they post permanent police personnel there operationally is defective. What the government should do is have a standby force where they rotate them periodically. So if you look at the systems at our Ghana police as an institution, there's no help, especially psychological help for our men and women. They are on their own. And I think that it has brought a broader conversation about how we have to take care of our troops, especially in the conflict areas. So the personnel, to me, are right, and the Minister of Interior shouldn't be lamenting about it. He should rather look at how they can put strategies in place to arrest the situation. And the best option is to put an operational standby force in place where they rotate them periodically. I think the personnel have been calling for help and they have not gotten that help. So if you are pushed to the wall and you have nowhere to turn to, it's better to safeguard your life than looking at serving in a capacity where nobody cares about you. So in the first place, the operational strategy the police deployed was wrong. What police have done is what I've told you. And if they have done that, and every personnel has an opportunity to go there like we do in peacekeeping abroad, this situation wouldn't have arisen in the first place. And the police are not alone. Teachers are running away from the area. Nurses and medical doctors are equally running away from the area. So it brings a broader perspective as to how we can get these ungoverned spaces governed.
Security analyst Emmanuel Cotin there. This is Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Let's do some business shortly. You are still tuned in on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. This is the business segment. Coming up, Ghana Revenue Authority dismisses spare parts dealers' fears, citing transitional pricing errors. Let's get into it now. The Ghana Revenue Authority, GRA, has rejected claims that the new Value-Added Tax VAT Act 2025, Act 1151, will trigger price hikes, describing the concerns of Abosokai spare part dealers as a fundamental misunderstanding of the reform. The response comes after the Abosokai Spare Parts Traders Association threatened a one-week strike, arguing that the shift from a 4% flat rate to a 20% standard rate would burden consumers and distort market competition. There's more in the following 3 News Desk reports.
The Ghana Revenue Authority says concerns about the new VAT regime are based on what it calls a fundamental misunderstanding of the system. In a statement, the GRA insists the shift from the 4% flat rate to the 20% standard VAT will not lead to higher prices. Under the old system, traders could not deduct input VAT of 21.9% paid on purchases. The new regime allows full deduction of input VAT effectively lowering their cost base. Using a base price of 500 cedis and a 20% profit margin, the authority says a trader would charge 720 cedis under the new system, 40 cedis 66 pesos less than under the previous flat rate regime. The GRA maintains that price increases will only occur if traders wrongly include now deductible VAT in their cost calculations. It also dismissed fears of unfair competitions, explaining that the 750,000 cedi registration threshold is meant to ease the burden on smaller businesses and does not affect final consumer prices. The authority adds that the reform abolishes the COVID-19 health recovery levy, eliminates escalating taxes, and reduces the overall cost of doing business. The GRE has set up a joint technical team with GUTA to support traders through the transition and is urging all stakeholders to engage constructively with the reforms.
Let's do other stories because Ghana is moving to solidify its dominance in the global share market through a strategic new partnership with international processing giant AAK. The Ministry of Food and Agric has officially signed a memorandum of understanding with a global processor aiming to overhaul the local value chain. The agreement was finalized in Accra by the Minister for Food and Agric, Eric Opoku, and AAK's Vice President and Head of West Africa, Lasse Skassen. The following 3 News Desk report has more.
The agreement formalizes collaboration between the Ministry of Food and Agriculture and AAK Company Limited, one of the world's largest buyers and producers of shea product. Denmark's ambassador to Ghana, Jacob Linoff, witnessed the signing, underlining the international importance of the deal. Under the partnership, focus will be placed on expanding local processing, supporting small and medium-sized enterprises, and strengthening Ghana's position in global share value chains. The initiative also prioritizes inclusive growth, particularly for women, share collectors, and young people. AAK Company Limited, which has operated in Ghana since 1958, says the country has the potential to becoming a regional hub for value-added share processing. The company recently secured Fair World certification for the Kolo Nafaso program, the first in share sector, currently supporting more than 230,000 women collectors. AAK Company Limited plans to expand the program to reach an additional 70,000 women.
Well, that was a 3 News Desk report on Ghana partnering with global giant AAK to boost local shea industry. That will be all for business on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. For more business stories, check out our website 3news.com. Orekwan Pofo is here to bring us the latest in the world of sports.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the sports segment here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. My name is Oreku Ampofo. Ahead of the highly anticipated super clash between Asante Kotoko and Accra Heart of Folk on Sunday in the Ghana Premier League, former Asante Kotoko player Eric Bekwe has expressed confidence that the departure of Karim Zito would not affect the team's performances. Zito, who took over from Prosper Ogum, stepped down just days before the crucial encounter. However, Bekwe remains optimistic that the players' determination to secure positive results and their overall ambitions remain unchanged.
Yeah, looking at Karim Zito's history behind playing against House of Folk from Dreams FC and then coming to Kotokotu, he hasn't lost against House of Folk. I think it was a moral booster for the club, but it's just the code that have been changed, but the players are still there. So I think tactical discipline is going to play a vital role in this game. I should stand by the 2-1. Kotoko is winning 2-1.
And so that was former Asante Kotoko player Eric Bekwe speaking there. Let's now do some more where AJ Oxer captain Elisha Owusu says he's continuing to work hard in hopes of securing a place in Ghana's Black Star squad ahead of the 2026 World Cup later this year. The midfielder has had an inconsistent run with the national teams, with most recent appearances coming in the final phase of the World Cup qualifiers against Central African Republic and Mali. Despite being in and out of the squad, Owusu remains determined and hopeful of earning a call-up for the Mundial later this year.
Yeah, first of all, it will be an honor, will be a big blessing to play the World Cup for my country. And second of all, I try to not think of it not that much, I don't want to be something every day thinking of World Cup. No, I try to focus on what I need to do every day. For me, life is about process and take it day by day, You don't want to think too much about the outcome. And I try to process it every day. I know that if I do good with my club, train good, sleep good, perform good with some games, it will help me to go to this World Cup, But I try to not put a lot of pressure on myself, even enough to not think too much about it, For me, it's not now, it's for me, really, if I take about the situation of my club and everything, is far away, So I try to focus on what I need to do day by day, and we see what God have in stock for us,
Oh, that was Ghana midfielder Elisha Owusu. Now let's do some more stories where Real Madrid and UEFA have reached an agreement of principles to bring an end to the years-long disagreement over the breakaway European Super League, saying that the move is for the good of European club football. Madrid had been at odds with European football's governing body since the unveiling of the Super League project in 2021, taking legal action against what the club said was an unlawful attempt to prevent the launch of the rogue competition. Barcelona also announced that they were formally withdrawing from the Super League last Saturday, leaving Real Madrid as the only one of the 12 original founding clubs to remain on board. Now, before we go, there'll be 5 Premier League fixtures later tonight, headlined by Manchester City, who take off Fulham and have a chance to close the gap between themselves and Arsenal to 3 points. There's also Aston Villa, who face Brighton. Crystal Palace host Burnley, whilst relegation threaten Nottingham Forest also face bottom-placed Wolves. Later, Liverpool would travel to the Stadium of Light to face Sunderland, who are unbeaten at home this season. That's how we bring an end to the sports segment, and also to an end for the hot edition here on 3FM 92.7. My name is Oreku Ampofo, and we're back again same time tomorrow to bring you the latest news.